Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the session. I hope all of you are doing great and studying really well for your upcoming NET exam. As you all know, the NET exam will be held on 5th of January, right? Okay, so I hope all of you are preparing really well. All right. So let's study. Yes. Okay. Are you all ready? Good evening, and welcome to this session. Yes. So if you're watching this video right now, then please do share. All right. And please like this video. All right. Okay. Good evening. Good evening. I'm great, doing great. Chalo, let's get started. I was just checking your comments if everything is fine. Hi, hi, hi. Okay, good evening. Now we will start. Yes, please like the video. And now let me share my screen. The screen is visible. Yes. So welcome to session number 32 of our Vallath NET revision. Okay, right. Let's move on to the first question for tonight. Tell me, household words and all the year round are periodicals of whom? Household words and all the year round are periodicals of whom? Tell me, household words and all the year round. Thank you so much, Rima. Rima, right? Yes, thank you, Rima. Yes, so household words and all the year round are periodicals of Charles Dickens. Are periodicals of Charles Dickens. All right. Yes. Let's move on to the next question. Yes. George Osborne and William Dobbin. They're characters from which Victorian novel? Because in the last year also, that is in this year, actually not last year, in this June exam also, they asked questions from characters. Right, in this June NET exam of 2025. So tell me, George Osborne and William Dobbin, they're characters from which Victorian novel? George Osborne and William Dobbin, they're characters from which Victorian novel? Which Victorian novel? Very easy, say, you know this. George Osborne and William Dobbin, they're characters from William Makepeace Thackeray's Vanity Fair. William Makepeace Thackeray's Vanity Fair. George Osborne and William Dobbin, their characters from William Makepeace Thackeray's Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair. All right, next. Good evening. Okay, next question. In Charles Dickens's Hard Times, Dash is a fictional grim industrial city representing the dehumanizing effects of the Industrial Revolution. Filled with red brick, smoke-belching factories, pollution and monotonous lives, where strict fact-based utilitarianism crushes imagination, contrasting the harsh factory system with the vibrant circus, and highlighting the struggles of workers like Stephen Blackpool against oppressive capitalists, Josiah Bounderby, and Utilitarian Education of Thomas Gradgrind. So in Dickens's Hard Times, which is that fictional grim industrial city that we talk about? Yes, yes, it is obviously Corktown. It is Corktown. Correct. It is obviously Corktown. Okay, next question. Mary Barton, A Tale of Manchester Life, was the first novel by Elizabeth Gaskell. First published in Dash. So what's the publication year of Elizabeth Gaskell's Mary Barton, A Tale of Manchester Life? What was the publication year of Elizabeth Gaskell's Mary Barton, A Tale of Manchester Life? It was her debut novel as well. Tell me. Elizabeth Gaskell's debut novel, Mary Barton, A Tale of Manchester Life, was published in 1848. 1848. Correct. 1848. Well done. Next. So before we proceed, let me give you all a reminder that we are starting our new NET online batch from this coming January. So if you are planning to sit for the next NET exam, I think this course will be perfect for you. And if you haven't enrolled yet, you can obviously join us. All right. Great. Now let's move on to the next question. Dash was a major 20th century intellectual movement originating in linguistics with Ferdinand de Saussure that analyzed human culture by focusing on underlying universal structures and relationships between elements within a larger system rather than the elements themselves, influencing anthropology, literary theory, psychology, and philosophy by revealing patterns in language, myth, and society. So, which major 20th century movement are we talking about? Of course, it is structuralism. Structuralism was a major 20th century intellectual movement that started from the linguistics of Ferdinand de Saussure. Ferdinand de Saussure. That's why Saussure is considered as one of the founding fathers of structuralism. Saussure is considered as one of the founding fathers of structuralism. And structuralism studies the underlying universal structures and relationships between elements within a larger system. Okay, right, very good. Next question. Dash is a key linguistics concept by Ferdinand de Saussure, and it refers to the abstract, shared system of rules, grammar, and vocabulary of a language that exists in a community's collective mind, distinct from actual individual speech, that is parole. This is the stable underlying structure enabling communication, like the rules of English grammar, while parole is the momentary, diverse act of speaking or a writing that uses those rules. So, which concept of linguistics are we talking about of Saussure? It is obviously langue. Langue by Saussure is the abstract, shared system of rules, grammar, and vocabulary of a language that exists in a community's collective mind. That exists in a community's collective mind, and it's different from the parole. Parole means individual speaking pattern, and langue is the abstract system of knowledge, not knowledge of language. Langue is the entire system of language, and parole is the individual use. Okay, right. Correct. Next. Dash argued that the savage mind had the same structures as the civilized mind, and that human characteristics are the same everywhere. These observations culminated in his famous book, Tristis Tropics, 1955, which established his position as one of the central figures in the structuralist school of thought. So, who talked about this concept of savage mind, the concept of civilized mind? And these concepts were talked about in his book, Tristis Tropics, published in 1955. Savage mind, civilized mind. Yes, it was obviously Claude Lévi-Strauss. Claude Lévi-Strauss argued that the civilized mind and the savage mind both are same. Both are same. Very good. Yes, Claude Lévi-Strauss. Correct. Next. Morphology of the folk tale by Dash argues that despite varied characters and settings, Russian fairy tales share a common underlying structure of 31 sequential functions or actions like villainy, lack, or struggle, which are the fundamental building blocks of the plot. He found his functions, not specific characters, are constant, revealing a universal grammar for storytelling that applies across different narratives and cultures, focusing on character acts rather than identities. He talked about 31 narrative functions in Russian fairy tales, which are applicable to narratives across the globe. These narrative functions are applicable to narratives across the globe, not only fairy tales of Russia. Morphology of the folktale. Yes, it's by Vladimir Prop. Vladimir Prop talked about this in his work, Morphology of the Folktale. Morphology of the Folktale. And here he talked about 31 functions. 31 functions. Okay, right. Please remember this number also. 31 functions. Okay, right. Morphology of the Folktale by Vladimir Prop. Next. Roland Barthes divides the effects of texts into two. Plaisir means pleasure, and jouissance, translated as bliss. But the French word also carries the meaning of orgasm. In which text does he does this? In which text Roland Barthes divides the effects of texts into two, pleasure and bliss? In which text Roland Barthes divides the effects of texts into two, pleasure and bliss, which also means in French as orgasm, which has a sexual connotation? Yes, he did this in The Pleasure of the Text. The Pleasure of the Text. Correct. He did this in The Pleasure of the Text. Okay. Roland Barthes divided the effects a text can produce into two types, pleasure and bliss. And he talked about this in his work, The Pleasure of the Text. Correct. Okay, right. Next. This is what deconstruction is made of. Not the mixture, but the tension between memory, fidelity, the preservation of something that has been given to us, and at the same time, heterogeneity, something absolutely new and a break. Who said this? Just a second, just a second. Wait, I will share my screen once again. Some glitch was happening. Just give me a second. Yeah. So who said this? That this is what deconstruction is made of. Not the mixture, but the tension between memory, fidelity, the preservation of something that has been given to us, and at the same time, heterogeneity, something absolutely new, and a break. Yes, this was said by none other than Derrida. Derrida said this. Derrida said this. Okay, isn't this statement beautiful about deconstruction? It actually talks about deconstruction in such a wonderful, beautiful, and tender way. Don't you guys agree? It talks about deconstruction in such a tender way. Such a tender balance is there in deconstruction. Yes, it's a wonderful statement of from Derrida. All right, next. Derrida approaches all text as constructed around elemental oppositions, which all discourse has to articulate if it intends to make any sense whatsoever. This is so because identity is viewed in non essentialist terms as a construct, and because constructs only produce meaning through the interplay of difference inside a system of distinct signs. Is it true or false? Is it true or false about Derrida that he approaches all texts as constructed around elemental oppositions? Elemental oppositions which are there in all discourses. There is the binary oppositions that he was against. True, absolutely true. Derrida approaches all texts as constructed around binary oppositions, which will be there in all the discourses around us. Okay? Yes. And please remember, Derrida was against binary oppositions. Derrida was against these binary oppositions. All right? Yes. Next. Dash emerged in the mid 20th century as a response to modernism, emphasizing the instability of meaning, a rejection of universal truths, and critique of grand narratives. What are we talking about? Dash emerged in the mid 20th century as a response to modernism, emphasizing the instability of meaning, a rejection of universal truths, and the critique of grand narratives. Very easy, tell me. Yes, it was postmodernism. Postmodernism emerged in the mid 20th century as a response to modernism. And postmodernism emphasizes the instability of meaning, a rejection of universal truths, and critique of grand narratives. Remember Jean-Francois Lyotard described postmodernism as an incredulity towards meta narratives. Jean-Francois Lyotard had described postmodernism as an incredulity towards meta narratives. Meta means grand narratives, right? I hope you all remember that. Yes. Lyotard, yes. Next, Saving the Text by Dash is primarily about Glass by Derrida. Glass is primarily about Hegel's phenomenology of spirit and the novels of Jean Genet. And This critic says that I'm using the term about guardedly because both books are about the writing of texts as much as anything else. This critic who wrote this book said that. Who is this critic who said this? And who wrote that book, Saving the Text? Saving the Text. This work is by one of the Yale School critics. Saving the Text is by Geoffrey Hartman. Geoffrey Hartman. Saving the Text by Geoffrey Hartman is about Derrida's Glass and the novels of Jean Genet. Jean Genet. Saving the Text by Geoffrey Hartman. Geoffrey Hartman was from Yale School of Criticism. Saving the Text by Geoffrey Hartman is about Derrida's Glass. Okay, Saving the Text by Geoffrey Hartman. Yes, Geoffrey Hartman was from Yale School. Yale School. Yale School of Criticism. So please remember this, okay? Saving the Text by Geoffrey Hartman. Okay, next. Simulacra and Simulation is a dash philosophical treatise by Baudrillard, in which he seeks to examine the relationships between a reality, symbols, and society. In particular, the significations and symbolism of culture and media involved in constructing an understanding of shared existence. This work, Simulacra and Simulation by Jean Baudrillard, was published in which year? This work, Simulacra and Simulation by Jean Baudrillard, was published in which year? No. Tell me the publication year. This text, which examines the relationships between a reality, symbols, and society. Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation. It was published in, yes, 1981. 1981. Okay? It was published in 1981. 1981. All right? Yes. Okay. Cartographies of Diaspora by Dash is a foundational text in diaspora studies, introducing the concept of diaspora space to analyze how identities are contested and formed in transnational contexts, moving beyond simplistic us versus them views by seeing everyone in a location as part of this complex space, linking migration, culture, and power through an intersectional feminist lens, especially focusing on Asian experience in Britain, but offering a universal framework. Who wrote this work in diaspora studies called Cartographies of Diaspora? It is by Avatar Bra. It is by Avatar Bra. Avatar Bra wrote Cartographies of Diaspora. It's a major work in diaspora studies, and it introduces the concept of diaspora space to analyze how identities are contested and formed in transnational contexts. It talks about the Asian experiences in Britain, but offers a universal framework also. All right, Cartographies of Diaspora by Avatar Bra. All right, yes. So that's all from our side for tonight. I hope you guys loved the session and enjoyed answering these questions. Please like the session before you leave. And we are starting our new NET batch from this coming January. Right. So I hope you like the session. And I will see you all again on Monday. The weekend is here already. So do have a lovely weekend. Keep safe, stay healthy, keep studying for your net exam, right? And I will see you all again on Monday at 9 p.m. at our Vallath YouTube channel. All right, please like the session before you leave. Good night. Bye bye. Take care. See you all on Monday. Okay.